Okay, so in this video, we're going to be taking a look at finding percentages of an amount. But this video is just going to focus on when we've got multiples of 5%. So for our first question, we've got find the value of 30% of 70. So when we're finding percentages, a really useful percentage to find is 10%. And we can find 10% of any number by simply dividing by 10. So because in this first question we have 70, we know that 100% of the value is equivalent to this. So 100% would be equivalent to 70. So therefore, to find 10%, all I'm simply doing is dividing by 10. So because I've divided the 100% by 10 to get 10%, I'm going to do the same here. So that's why to find 10% of any number, we just simply divide by 10. So it's 10% of 70 would actually give us 7. So why 10% is really useful is we can then use that to help us find the percentage that we need. We need to figure out what 30% of 70 is. Well, because we know 10% is equal to 7, all we need to do to then get from 10 to 30 is times by 3. So we're going to do exactly the same on this side. We're going to multiply by 3. So 7 multiplied by 3 would give us 21. So our answer here for 30% of 70 is just 21. So for any multiple of 10, that's what we'd do. We'd find the 10% and then multiply by what we need to get the percentage that we need. Okay, in this next example, we've got find the value of 15% of 160. So just like before, we can find what 10% is equivalent to. So to find 10% of anything, all we have to do is divide it by 10. So if I want 10% of 160, I'd divide that 160 by 10, and that'd give me 16. But what we can also do now that we have 10% is we can find 5%. And that's the remaining bit we need now. But what have we done to get from 10 to 5? Well, all we've done here is simply divide by 2. So that means on the right-hand side, we do exactly the same thing. So if 10% is equivalent to 16, then 5% would be equivalent to 8. So for the question, we actually needed 15%, but what we can do now is actually add our percentages together. So we've got 10%, add 5% gives us our 15%. And now we're going to do the same with our numbers on the right. So 16 plus 8, well, that would give us 24. So 15% of 160 would simply be 24. Okay, so now we've had a look at those two examples, we've got some practice questions to try. Feel free to pause the video here and have a go at these, and we'll go through the solutions in just a few moments. Okay, for this first question, we've got find 40% of 90. So again, we're going to find our 10% first of all. So to find 10%, all we need to do is divide our number by 10, so 90 would become 9. So now because we're looking for a multiple of 10, we can get straight there. We can get from 10% to 40% by simply multiplying by 4. So because I've done that on the left, I also need to do that on the right-hand side. So if we do 9 multiplied by 4, that would give us 36. So 40% of 90 would be our 36. Okay, for this next question, we've got find 35% of 300. So again, we're going to find our 10%, our useful percentage, by dividing by 10. So we do 300 divided by 10, so 10% would be equivalent to 30. And then we're also going to find 5% because we need to find 35% in total. So to find 5%, all we would do is take our 10% and divide it by 2. So 30 divided by 2 would give us 15. We can now partition this 35% into our tens and units. So 35 is just 30, add our 5. So I'm going to use the 10% to help me find 30%. So because we know 10% was equal to 30, we're simply just going to multiply by 3 to find 30%. So because we've done that to the left-hand side, we also need to do it to the right-hand side. So we'd have 30 multiplied by 3, that'd give us 90. So we know what 30% is. We need 35 in total, so we need another 5. Fortunately, we've already figured that out, so I'm just going to bring that 5% underneath, which we figured out earlier to be 15. So then, to make 35, all I'm going to do is add these two percentages together. So I'd have 35% here would be equivalent to, well, we'd have 0 add 5, which would be 5, 9 add 1 would be 10. So 35% of 300 would equal 105. Okay, moving on, we've now got to find the value of 65% of 400. So again, we're going to figure out 10% first. And to do that, we take that 400, divide it by 10, that would give us 40. And we're also going to figure out 5%. And to figure out 5%, we take the 10%, which was 40, and then we're going to divide that by 2. So if 10% is 40, 5% must be 20. So we've got our two useful percentages now. We're going to partition our 65 into 60, add 5. So we need to find 60%. And to do that, we start with our 10, and we're going to multiply that by 6. So because we've multiplied our 10 by 6, we're also going to multiply the 40 by 6. So 40 multiplied by 6 would give us 240. And then we need the remaining 5. And again, we've already calculated that. We know that 5 is equivalent to 20. So we've broken it up into our tens and units. Now all we need to do for our final answer is add these together. So we'd have 60 plus 5, which gives us our 65. Then we need to add our 240 to our 20, and that's just going to give us 260. And that would be our final answer to that one. Okay, and for this final question, we've got 85% of 110. So again, the first thing we're going to do is find our 10%. Well, to find our 10%, again, we divide by 10. So 110 divided by 10 is just 11. And looking at our number, we're going to partition it into 80 and 5. So we're also going to need our 5%. Well, to figure out 5%, we can half our 10%. So we've got to do 11 divided by 2. So 11 divided by 2 is actually 5.5. Okay, so 85%, we're going to partition it, as we said, into 80 and 5, so we need 80%. So to find that, we're going to take our 10% and we're going to multiply it by 8. And if I've done that to the left-hand side, I must also do it to the right-hand side. So we've got to do 11 multiplied by 8, that's going to give us 88. And then we need our 5%, which we've already figured out to be 5.5. So I'm going to line this up and use some column addition to figure this out. So my 8 here, I'm just going to put 0.0. So then adding these two numbers together, we've got 0 add 5, which is 5. We've got 8 add 5, which is 13. So 3 carry our 1. And then we have 8 add the one we carried over, gives us 9. So our answer to 85% of 110 would be 93.5. So well done if you followed along with those questions. And that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and consider subscribing. If there are at all any topics you'd like me to go through next, then please just let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to make some videos on those topics as soon as possible. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.